Hi there guys, hopefully you're all doing well. Today I'm starting off in this genuine potato barn, picking up this original barn find, Alfa Romeo GTV Spider. Now it's sat here for many years, hiding with these classic Mercedes, that BMW 1 Series compact and an Astra Cabriolet. It'll be a fuel pump if it's been standing, they're really common for it.
Somebody else has just said that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it could be something else, but...
I don't think there's nothing wrong with the engine. That piece is there, that's all.
Yeah.
It is a shame.
Oh, those lifters are tough. Oh, it is tidy.
It is tidy, yeah.
A bit low on coolant. I can't really see very much because it's quite dark in here, but
engine-wise, the sweet as a rich.
It's got oil on that. Looks reasonably clean.
Good clean-up pump on it. I think you'll be right with it. Tyres are all good, wheels are clean.
Yeah, that's just the worst bit, but we'll try and do something with that. Stuff in the boot, toolkit. The paintwork looks reasonably solid. Roof looks alright, roof screen. So it's low mileage for the year. I need what, 80 odd? Let's just try and pull it out of the way a bit. This wonderful gent had got so many hidden gems in here. I was so tempted to buy a few cars, but unfortunately, just Alfa Romeo today. But it's rare to actually find a proper, genuine barn find. This was actually tucked away in a potato barn right at the back. And generally, this was on a big, massive farm, as you can see here. So a bona fide barn find it is. Just got back, a little bit hairy. Had a little bit of incident with the trailer. I think the wheel bearing has started to collapse on one side, so it was a little bit hairy getting back. Right, first proper look at it out in the sunlight, because I never got a chance while it was in that barn. Do you know what? It's a really good colour red still. It is just a real shame about that there, but I should be able to repair that and repaint it. What tyres we got on it? Avons, but they're probably old. How old are they? Can I see? Yeah, they're old. They're going to need changing. The rest of the bodywork so far looks pretty good. It's this side that I couldn't really check too thoroughly, but you know what? That looks pretty good. Right, let's get it off the trailer. Anybody else think I should have brushed off the dust and put it into a paper bag and sold it on eBay as genuine barn find dust? It's got to be worth a few £1,000s for that. It seems quite a shame to get it off the trailer and give it a wash, doesn't it? And luckily the unit's on a little bit of an incline here, so I can get the mirrors open and roll it back. It makes life a lot easier with these cars that don't start. Well, I've worked out what's happened to the tyre. It's completely and utterly lost its shape. And when you push it back, watch this when I pull it back. You can see the tread there, look. Yeah, so that is why I was vibrating everywhere. And oh damn, I forgot to bag up the dust. That's £2,000 down the drain. So giving it a wash means we can see how good the bodywork is. As I was expecting loads of blemishes and all sorts of damage from being stored, but no, it's actually been stored pretty well. I've always said over the years, you don't get to know a car until you give it its first wash and you see all the defects around it, what's missing, what's going on with it. And found a couple on this, nothing major, but it is going to need a little bit of love. So let's have a little bit of a better look around it. Now it's not covered in so much dust. So back bumper, there's a very, very light mark there, which will polish off. The rest of the bodywork is in pretty good shape, but it is missing the two little inserts which go in there. The rear light bar is good. Rear badge needs replacing. Tyres need replacing. The window seal for here is broken. We've got some over there, so we're going to need to try and get another one of those, which is going to be fun. If I'm really lucky, I've kept some and I've got some upstairs. So yeah, everything else on this side is all good. It is a real shame about this, but we'll glue it back on, try and repair it, and see if we can do a little bit of a smart repair there to make that look better. Front bumper, pretty much unmarked. Front badge needs changing as well. That's one of those really cheap, dodgy 99p eBay specials, I think. Some polish marks on it. The alloy wheels are in pretty good shape for the age. The interior, yeah, it's covered in all polish marks, so this is fresh from being polished pretty much 6 years ago. Driver's seat, little bit of mark on the bolster. Everything is there. Tweeters have fell in and come off, so I want to sort those out. We've got a few bits of plastic and stuff in here. That's one of those trim pieces. Fuse box cover, badges, fog light cover. I want another glove box because we're gluing back on because it's separating. We've got more tweeter stuff and badges in there. We've got a tax disc holder, proper period, 99p, bargain store special. I have just ordered a battery, so I am just waiting for that to come now, and then we can see if the roof works. I'm betting the motor in the back is seized, so it'll probably want to tap with a hammer. So once we've got a battery on it, we can test what works on the interior. I'm hoping the roof works. I was promised it works, but after 6 years of sitting idle, I bet the motor in the back is seized a bit, so that'll probably want to tap with a hammer. And the next bit's gonna be engine. We're gonna want to take spark plugs out, stick a little bit of lubrication in the cylinders, rotate the engine with the spark plugs out, pop everything back in, and see if it'll turn over. I am under the impression it wouldn't start for the owner a while ago. So we're gonna we haven't got a battery on it now, have we? So when I've got a battery on, I'm gonna listen to the fuel pump, because they are also a real big culprit for failing while they're stood for so long. So it might want a fuel pump putting in it. So they're easy enough to do in these, because you can just lift up the back of the window and access them from there. So join me in a second when, fingers crossed, we can put a battery on it. I have just found the chip off the bonnet, so hopefully it's all there, or the vast majority of it is anyway. So we can glue that back on, bit of filler, bit of paintwork, and that should be a good one. So I'm just removing the engine cover, the coil packs and the spark plugs, so I can start preparing the engine for its first turnover in a good few years. Just want to make sure that that engine is in its best possible condition before I actually start it. I am being a little bit naughty by not changing the cam belt first, but to be honest, looking at the condition of the oil, this car has been looked after all of its life, and I'm pretty sure that the cam belt isn't going to go on me. So right, spark plugs are out. Unfortunately there is a ton of oil in the spark plug wells, so I'm trying to get some out. Otherwise, when you start it up, you just fill your smoke. Otherwise, you just fill your workshop with black smoke. One more plug to take out. I suppose it won't hurt with a little bit of oil being dripped in, because it will lubricate the cylinders. A little bit of WD-40 in there just to lubricate everything. Long straw on it so it gets right the way down there. Cylinders are now all lubricated. I've put a spare battery on because I'm waiting for the new one to arrive. So let's see if we can hear that fuel pump prime. No, we cannot. Will it turn over? Yes, it will. So for having no compression, that turned over okay. They were a little bit slow, but that battery isn't the greatest. So let's put some spark plugs back in. We can put the coil packs back on now, and when the new battery arrives, we can start jumping into whether the fuel pump's faulty or not. while I've got the battery pack hooked up, I have tried to get the roof working, but you use the switch in the centre, it just blinks at you because there's a problem with it. So I've revealed these two buttons which are down here. Just took the cover off it. You can tell it's a well looked after car because it's still got the original cover on it. So I've taken the cover off it. The cover to release the red cover has come loose and it's unwound the back. You can see, look. So now we should be able to put the roof down manually. Now what I should have done is actually use the diagnostic tree method of diagnosing what was wrong with the car rather than just jumping straight into checking the fuel pump. As you'll find out later on, it was a little bit of a wasted journey, but as you can see here, holding up the back of the roof so then I can access the fuel pump easier. So now with that out of the way, we can get to the 8mm nuts which hold the fuel pump cover on. So there we go. As that was showing battery voltage then at the pump, that means the car or the ECU is sending power to the pump, but the pump still isn't running, so that just means the pump is going to be seized. So I think I've got a spare one upstairs. I'm going to go and test that and then we'll get the other one out. So you can see down to the pump, which is there where I'm pointing, you've got a green wire and a black wire. They're basically, the power is the green wire and the black wire is the earth. So what we want to do is we've put your crocodile clip onto the earth wire, and then the positive, we should be able to touch it and you can hear it run. Can you hear that? So we know that fuel pump is good, and I bet the fuel pump in here doesn't do that. So now we need to get a little hammer and a chisel just to get the top of the fuel pump off, and out it comes. That was good timing. The battery has now arrived. They did put this battery in Spiders in such a horrible location. I do wish they just relocated to the boot of the engine bay. So the electrical connection's off out the way, we just need to take the fuel connection off. See the pressure in that? Right, let me just pop that back together and try and start it. Now we've got a battery in it, because there was pressure there. And this is where I realised I've wasted the last hour of my day chasing a fault which wasn't actually there, because I didn't start from the basics right at the beginning when you turn the ignition key. So don't assume, because it just makes an ass out of you and me. So forget everything I've just attempted to do. Looks as though there is probably nothing wrong with the fuel pump at the minute. I've gone purely by what I was told in the listing, and you shouldn't have done that. Problem is the immobiliser is not going off. You see we've got the code light staying on there. So I might be under the impression so what can happen is the ECU can get a little bit confused because it's now getting on a bit now. So I'm going to disconnect the battery for 10 minutes, put it back on and see if that makes a difference. And if the immobiliser doesn't come off, not really a lot we can do. Check a few relays and make sure they're all free and not seized. But yeah, we'll start with the battery anyway, and hopefully that will get us that little step further. So I've reset the battery and it still doesn't turn the code light off, so I'm going to take the key apart, which is already mostly apart. Can you see the problem there? Should be a little chip inside that key there and it's missing. So what I'm going to have to do is have a look into getting the ECU sorted out so there's no immobiliser anymore, because that chip is missing. I am just going to go and search the car and see if I can see it in there, but I highly doubt it's going to be in there. So would you believe it, something as stupid as a chip missing in the key is the reason why that has probably been stowed for so many years. So I've had a little look on the internet. You can remove the codes on these now, with the code system on these. So I need to remove the engine ECU and the code box, which is under the dashboard, get them sent off to this company and get them recoded. And I'm going to probably be about 250 quid lighter for it. So let's get them off, send them off, and see whether they can fix it or not.
A few moments later.
So it's now a week later and I'm £250 lighter, and hopefully the immobiliser issue has been removed from this now. So I'm going to plug it all back in and fingers crossed, turn the key and she'll get it running again. Engine ECU going back on now. It's held in with 4 10mm nuts, 2 electrical connections and 1 earth connection. Normally straightforward to take on and off. Just be careful with the electrical connections for the ECU. Under here is the immobiliser box which has all the codes on it. Right, we're all plugged in. It does tell you to leave that second connector disconnected, which is what I'm going to do. So now we're all plugged in. No code light, fingers crossed. There we go, she runs, a bit noisy, but she's running. Perfect. Not too bad, it'll quieten down once the oil circulated around those hydraulic lifters. So we'll let that run for a few minutes and we'll get it in the unit. So unfortunately on the dashboard we do have the airbag light and the engine light on. So first things first, let's get the computer plugged in and try and get rid of these warning lights. Right, let's have a look at the errors. Well, that's gone, that's probably just a battery related problem. Airbag light is now off. So none of those codes really worry me. They are probably all to do with flat battery or the immobiliser not working properly. So I've reset those. We'll leave it running again, see if that oil pressure one comes back, because that was the only red one. But pretty sure that was probably just flat battery. So fingers crossed. We've got a clean bill of health now. Still waiting for that ticky noise to calm down a bit. Right, next job is just masked it up ready, just so I can stop any of the drips when I glue this part back on. And see if we can get that to look a little bit better, and if it glues and stays on I can then hopefully just repaint that little corner with a bit of a colour match. Just mixing some epoxy resin together. Trying to get as much on as possible so I can get a really strong bond with the rest of the fiberglass. Unfortunately there's not much more you could do. We wouldn't really want to build this part up again with filler, so the best option at the minute is just to glue it back on. Hopefully it bonds really well, and then we can just do a small little smart repair in the top corner there, because I don't really fancy painting the whole bonnet. I would love to know how they've managed to damage this corner. I mean, there's no marks on the outside of the bodywork, there's nothing anywhere in this little corner saying, oh, this is what we've done to break this. So it's a really awkward spot to actually do it in, because when the bonnet's up you still can't really get much there. All I can think is somebody left a spanner or a wrench underneath there, and as I've closed the bonnet it's just broken that corner off. Let's leave that to dry for a few hours now, and then we can move on to the next stage. So now that's sorted, we'll let that dry. Let's move on to having a look at the roof, because the roof doesn't work. It's not clipped down at the back properly. I'd assume it's just purely for the fact it's not been used for so long, so we need to try and get it all back in order so it knows what it's doing, and then see if we can get everything to lock, latch, open and close by itself. So the problem with the roof is when you operate the button it just flashes at you, it doesn't make any noises, it just gives you a little sort of flash every few seconds. So what it's telling you is there's either a fault with the roof or it's just unsynchronized, and I'm 99% sure it's just unsynchronized. So you just have to go through the manual opening procedure to get the roof fully open so it knows it can restart from the beginning again, and fingers crossed it will hopefully fix the problem. What I'm also checking for while I'm operating it is just making sure everything's in position, there's none of the locks are seized, everything moves freely, I can't see any leaks from any of the hydraulic pipes, and just basically a little bit of a health check on the roof. So everything seems okay, everything is closed, so now let's just check and see if that roof will work. Some of the common problems you do have with these roofs is that that motor which I speak about is in the centre in the little cubby hole. It just gets seized up. They're getting on a bit now. They use a plastic cog, and that plastic cog can break. You can have some hydraulic fluid leaking from the rams. You can have it leaking from the pump where some of the pipes connect to it. They're really the main problems you get with it. They are a pretty robust roof. I mean, this car's what, 25 years old nearly, and we've still got a perfectly operating roof. So we're battling through the problems today. It now runs, roof works, no engine warning lights, No airbag warning light, things are going quite smoothly. I'm still waiting for the little patch on the front bonnet to dry, but I've literally got to give that a few hours because it's quite warm today and it takes longer to dry when it's warm. Another problem I've noticed is this window is really loose. I'm looking inside down there and there doesn't seem to be a runner along there. So I'm going to have to take the door card off and have a look into why that isn't working quite as it should. But we're also missing the window seal. Well, we're not missing, it's just ripped off, so we need to try and find another door seal, but if I remember rightly they are quite hard to get hold of. So I'm stuck waiting for parts to arrive now. I've ordered a cam belt kit and a service kit, so jump cut to when the parts arrive and I can finally get on the ramp and get the cam belt done. So now we're at the point where we just need to get the maintenance up to date now. So it's been sitting for 6 years, looking at the oil and looking at the condition of the engine underneath the engine cover. It's been well looked after all of its life. There's no problems being with the maintenance with this car, because as soon as you reveal the engine cover underneath, you can see how lovely and silver it is underneath there. It's not covered in burnt oil, so it does show it's a regular clean oil inside the car. So now I'm just removing everything so I can access and change the timing belt and water pump. You can see here, engine is lovely and clean. There's no doubt that has not been looked after all of its life. Now inserting the top dead centre gauge so I can get the timing all set up. Removing the side engine cover, the balance shaft belt, and now gives me access to the cam belt area. Rotate the engine to top dead centre, put the cam locks on, as we can see in a second. Now we're at top dead centre, we can put the cam locks on and see how well the engine has been timed up before. And as you can see there, it's pretty much bang on. Cam belt and water pump now gets removed along with all the used tensioners. And there's the condition of the old belt. As I say, it's not cracking, it doesn't look particularly old, but it is overdue replacement, so of course it gets done. Once we've changed all that, we can now start reinstalling the cam belt and pop it all back together. Also fitted a brand new rocker cover gasket. There's no point scrimping on about £12 because guaranteed as soon as you put it back together and you don't replace it, you will have an oil leak. Mainly they'll leak into the spark plug wells like it was on this engine, and you'll get oil everywhere, so always worthwhile changing that. You probably can't tell from this shot, but that oil was actually really clean still. I'll pretty much guarantee you that was changed not long before it was laid up, but it's 6-year-old oil, so it's worthwhile getting that changed as well, along with a brand new air filter and a little go over underneath. I've given it a good coat of stone chip so it can have many more years without needing to be welded. The bodywork now, then let's get this sorted. So we're just starting by rubbing down some of the glue I'll put on there, getting a nice smooth surface so nothing protrudes when I put the filler on. Now that's nice and smooth, let's start applying some filler. This was a really awkward shape to get the filler on. I couldn't get it around the corners, couldn't get it in the hole without having to have 4 or 5 different size spatulas, so I got there in the end. It was just a laborious process, and you ended up messing with the filler a little bit too much as it was starting to go off, so we did have to apply a second round. So first round of sanding underway. Took about 20 minutes of hand sanding this, also making sure that there's a nice ample coverage of masking tape around it so I don't scratch any of the other bodywork. And as it's a tight awkward space to get to, you're better off just doing it all by hand. There's not really many electric tools you can get in there to get that done any faster. For the initial round of filler, use a quick going over with 80 grit just to get the basic shape, and then moved on to 240 grit to sand down the rest of the filler. and then it was all done, ready for a little bit of primer. Of course, after I did the second round of filler as well. So there's a couple of little air holes as such where I couldn't get it quite in the position when I first did the first round of filler. So a second one, sorted those out, quick sand down. It was only a very short sand down because it wasn't very much at all, and then we can move on to putting some primer on it. Once the primer's done, we can sand and feather it down, which I did off camera, but you can then see me feather it out onto the rest of the bonnet now. And of course, when it came to painting it, guess who forgot to push record? So it's a quick jump to a freshly painted corner of a bonnet. Annoyingly, but yeah, it was a 2K paint with gloss inside it, so we literally just had to paint with one coat and you were all done. No lacquer needed to be applied to it, which is quite nice to work with. I've never worked with it before, this is my first time, but I do believe it is not the healthiest of paint to use, so you do make sure that you are in a well ventilated area with all the proper attire on. So the colour match isn't too bad. I do still need to polish the bonnet, obviously, because I've literally just painted it. The colour match is pretty much bang on, but we will need to polish the dusty surface here, and that should hopefully come up a little bit better. But in here, the colours, when you match them, does stick out like a sore thumb, but fingers crossed, that is a decent colour match. So after a little bit of spit and polish later, the engine is looking all nice and sparkly. The paintwork on the bonnet is looking really good indeed, and as you can see in a second, that the colour match was really good, and it's actually come out really well, and you could barely tell that it's actually had some work done there. So it is all finished now, so bask in its glory. All that's left to do for it now is take it for an MOT, and it can go off to its new home. The interior has also had a right good cleaning because it was rather riffy, but now it's all tickety-boo, and all the bits that needed changing inside have all been sorted. So that is another Spider successfully saved after spending several years off the road. So as with all these cars I do up, I am not going to be keeping them for myself. I am going to be selling it on. So if you are interested in it, the details will be in the description down below, and it'll probably be listed on Auto Trader or eBay at some point if nobody's interested in it. So there we go. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like, share and subscribe, and give me a comment and let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.